It's a bit different being on virtual.
Yeah, really.
We haven't done one like this before.
Oh, you all right?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. Welcome everyone to another episode of A Beer with the Brewer. This week is a little bit different format to usual. I'm sitting here on me Pat Malone, but I'm joined virtually by Matt Wenk in Adelaide from Smidge Wines. How are you, mate?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Very well. Good to have you on, mate.
Yes, thank you. Yes. I've got used to doing these kind of Zoom calls over the last couple of years. But,
yeah, exactly.
It would be nice if I was up there in person.
Yes, we thought you might have been sneaking up, but it didn't eventuate.
It's a bit of a crazy time now this way.
Yeah,
plenty to do, unfortunately.
You've been in South Korea recently?
South Korea, yes.
Yeah.
We were there and showed the wares and did a few tastings and what have you. Off to Sydney next week, but due to get back up your way soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we're here doing this today is to have a chat about our latest collab beer, the Revel and Smidge Wines Muscat Red IPA. So this year, a little bit different, mate, in terms of what we've produced. This is the fourth year I think we've done it.
Yes.
So the first year was the Montepulciano IPA, where you set up, I think, 200 odd kilos of must, and we had to wrestle that in and out of the tank.
Yeah, I think I threw a curveball at you.
Well, it was on the cusp of Easter, just after the harvest, I guess, and we went to throw it in on the Thursday before Easter, and I look inside the barrel and it was full of half-crushed grapes. I'm like, that one's probably going to wait until after Easter. But yeah, we managed to get them into the tank about 4 kilos at a time with a beaker, very hands-on. And then the next year we did the same thing with the must again. At least I knew what was coming this time. But those two beers I thought come out quite well. We picked up a lot of character from the grapes. We got that sort of beautiful, vibrant purple colour in the beer. And then last year we thought we'd branch out again and make a wine up here. So what'd you send up? I think it was Cabernet juice.
Cabernet juice for a rosé and then some fruit as well, yeah.
Yeah, and then a bit of fruit. So we did the beer and the wine side by side. So that was my first time trying to make a wine. I took a brewer's approach and tried to ferment it with beer yeast, which didn't work that well, I found out. And then I had to try and track down some wine yeast to finish the ferment, but it ended up coming out all right in the end. From the feedback I've got, it was probably almost too flavoursome for a lot of rosés, being the Cabernet. But yeah, I quite liked it.
You get to learn.
Yeah, exactly. It's all part of the fun. This is
You took me out of the job, mate.
Yeah. And then this year we caught up with you back in, it was about May, we were down in Adelaide.
Yes.
We're looking to do it again, but I think you said the fruit season wasn't as good with the grapes, so you didn't have the must or the juice you could send us this year.
Yeah. I think you want to do a sour, so we're going to probably Sauvignon Blanc based or something.
Yeah.
The yields of whites were down sort of 60%, so it was...
We might put that on the agenda for next year, but we ended up landing on the Muscat.
The McLaren Muscat. Yep.
So, mate, you can probably tell us a little bit about the Muscat and why you thought that would work well in a beer.
Obviously, first of all, it had lots of sugar in it, so ferment that secondary time with it. But I think it's such a unique flavour profile. It comes from the Frontenac or Muscat family, and there's this distinct perfume about the wine, no matter what age it is, and what you makes Muscat, obviously, pretty concentrated. So I thought, well, why not? You don't need much to get this sort of lovely dark colour to it as well. So a colour impact and a massive flavour impact as well. So hopefully it works. Honestly, you set this up, I got it this last week, so you asked me before if I tried it, and I haven't deliberately because I knew we were going to do this. So
no, we better crack it open. Been sitting there teasing you for long enough.
Wow. So it was a nice sort of golden straw colour when it was the original IPA, and it's picked up that colour has come off.
This year, in the past, we've made pretty much a very straw, sort of light coloured base IPA. This year with the Muscat, we thought we'd put a bit more body in the beer to help carry it. So this was more of a red IPA. So the beer did have some colour in it before we put the Muscat in. And then the Muscat's really just lifted it. So if you hold it up to the light, it's a beautiful colour.
It is. It's sort of a tawny red colour.
Yeah.
As you say, it's a red IPA, so it's got that redness, that deep redness to it, but it's sort of a tawniness to it as well. That's it's really quite perfumed and lifted, but it's not. It actually smells more intense than the flavour. It's actually quite soft and.
So we actually packaged this beer, I reckon, about 6 weeks ago. This is the first time we've had the chance to have a chat about it. But now the hops have faded slightly. They're still in there in the background, but I think the Muscat is really integrated well with the beer.
Yeah.
It's sort of the base beer was sort of that hoppy sort of IPA, and then the Muscat's had this nice sort of ripe fruit jamminess to it. When you set up the Muscat, we had a bit of a sniff and a small taste of it. And before the boys actually poured it into the tank, I thought I'd better siphon off a litre just to make sure it tasted all right. So for the next week or so, I was sort of having a little Muscat as a nightcap each night. And I thought it was beautiful, particularly paired next to the beer.
Okay. Yeah. Similarities, you can see the flavour similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. The Muscat, I guess, being such a rich, sweet wine. And then it's putting it into the beer will ferment it out a lot of that residual sugar. But it still adds that really rich sort of profile to it.
Yeah, but it's actually the beer is quite dry. It's quite very dry.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't really leave too much residual sugar in it because obviously the way you make it probably would make a time bomb if
exactly. We need to sort of ferment the sugar out so that it's stable on a shelf and doesn't re-ferment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's really creamy. That bead's fine and it's really quite creamy as well.
Yeah, with a nice bit of carbonation in it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Perfect for this cold. I mean, you said it was hot up there today, but no, it's. I think your parents hit us full force down here in spring. It's only about 12 degrees and rain most of this week, so it's perfect for this kind of weather.
But mate, can you give us a bit of a background on your Muscat that you grow there, and like sort of how many vines and stuff you have, how much you produce?
Yeah, for sure. So I have been making Rutherglen Muscat out of northeast Victoria for a number of years, but we've also got 3 rows of white Frontignac or Muscat Red Grandis out here in the front of the winery. And you can pick it early and make some nice aromatic white wine or a Moscato out of it, but I've always enjoyed fortified wines when I went through Roseworthy Agricultural College here. And so out here is you just let it hang, and it's kind of being Mediterranean. It's pretty dry and warm through growing season, so it slowly desiccates and just concentrates all that lovely flavour. And if you pick it as a young, when it's all fresh and low sugar, it's got a lovely perfume and just a rosewater character to it. But as you let it concentrate up, obviously, when it goes down, then you fortify it later on with neutral spirit. It gains a lot more complexity and it's more sort of nutty and dried fruit and what have you. And then obviously you have to be a barrel. So this one, the Muscat we use, this has been a barrel for 4 years. So you've got to leave it in a barrel for sort of up to 3 years before you can actually bottle it and sell it as Muscat.
Yep.
So this was a 4-year-old one. And over time, obviously, they call the process, they call the angel share. So you've got to let it just evaporate all that extra moisture coming out. So it all concentrates all those flavours up. And over time, obviously, it becomes even more luscious and rich and flavoursome. So you can see why they don't want to have people releasing it too early because there'd be no contrast and no intensity to the wine. So you've got 3 years is sort of minimum age, but this was 4, and I think if you try it by itself, it is quite, as you said, quite sweet and rich and complex.
Yeah, I thought it was quite luscious when I was trying it.
Yeah, and I think we sort of worked out, and we didn't need much. I think you got 40 litres in, or something, 40, 50 litres into the brew. So a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah.
It is quite sugar. There's no fermentation really. I think I let mine ferment about 0.5% of alcohol just to add a bit of complexity to the wine.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's nothing really there. It's like literally sugar. So you'd be up around probably 350, 400 grams per litre of sugar in that amount. So heaps of sugar there, heaps of flavour, heaps of intensity. So, and I think, I will give it a crack. I don't think you've done it. I
certainly hadn't done it. It's always good fun putting together this collab and doing something different.
Yeah. So, I just noticed on social media there's plenty of people around the place obviously that just keep on tagging us in it and obviously loving it.
Yeah. So you say it's a white grape?
There's different, I suppose, clones or species of the Frontenac in the Muscat family. There's brown Muscat, black Muscat, red Muscat, and white Muscat. This happens to be white. So, but you can get ones with different colour skins, which give you sort of more intensity and richness. So, out of Rutherglen, most of those Muscat clones are brown skinned, or darker skinned, so then they give more colour straight away.
Yep.
And so usually you pick it when it's really concentrated, you let it sit. There's different sort of subtle ways of making it, but ultimately crush it, let it sort of ferment a little bit by itself, then you fortify it. I leave it on spirit for a few days because it softens everything up. You can imagine these things like soft sultanas, but because those skins are so rigid, so when you go and press it, it's really hard to extract stuff out. So I leave it on spirit for a few days, which then softens everything up and you can press it more effectively a few days later.
So when you say you leave it on spirit, what does that mean?
So you work out, there's a thing called a Pearson square that you work out how much sugar you've got, how much alcohol you need, at what point, or what's the alcohol concentration you're using to fortify. So you work it out and say, out of this bin I need 60, 70 litres of 96% neutral spirit, which is SPR. So you pour that in and you leave it on skins. So you can imagine the skins and all the juice that's in the bin, the little fermenter, and then I put the spirit in and it just sits there. You can mix it, plunge it a couple of times a day just to mix it all around. So that alcohol works on breaking down the thermal walls and of the skins and what have you. So then you start extracting a bit of colour and flavour and everything.
So this is before you ferment it?
It doesn't get fermented, no. Things like Muscat and Tokay, or we call it Tokay now, because we're allowed to call it Tokay, because Tokay's come out of Hungary, so we're already protected names. But yeah, they traditionally don't get fermented or much fermentation. You might have, I do a little bit at the start before I fortify it, maybe a day or so, use about 0.5% of alcohol.
Yep.
And it's more of for complexity reasons. So then you have your spirit and the grapes and everything are sitting in the bin for anywhere up to 6 or 7 days sometimes I've done. And it's just get a plunger and you mix it all up a couple of times a day just to make sure nothing dries out. You try to maximise that extraction in that period.
Yeah, cool.
Then you press the crap out of it and try and get every last drop out of it, because all it's that last stuff you want. We're all that viscous.
Yeah.
With a juice and flavour coming out at the end. So it might be pressing for 10, 12 hours over the course of the day.
Yep. I remember when I was a kid, my parents were from northern Victoria. And they used to go up to Rutherglen around the wineries and do the winery walkabout. And they used to drink Muscat and port. So I've always, since I was old enough to drink it, I've always had a bit of a soft spot for those sort of fortified wines.
Yeah.
But yeah,
port though definitely has some fermentation involved, but then you've got to work out what level of sugar you want to retain. So the port's typically fortified with brandy spirit, which is slightly different, which got more flavour and complexity to it as well. So
there's no like conventional fermentation to make the Muscat. It's all from the...
No, it's minimal fermentation. Yeah,
so it's from the spirit is where the alcohol comes from?
Pretty well, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Very interesting.
So you would have... would have been about 7, or that one you got probably about 18% alcohol.
Yep.
Anyway, so I think as well, the same token, you couldn't have added too much, because all of a sudden your alcohol, your beer is going to be up probably 9-10% if you add too much. So you've got to sort of have a balance in there.
When we made this, the base beer was about 6%, and it came out at 6.5%. So we added about 0.5% alcohol just with the 40 odd litres of Muscat.
So that was a lot about so that was about 3 or 4%, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you added 10%, all of a sudden you'd be up around probably 7 plus.
Yeah.
So not as a bad thing, but you know, you've got to with that, you get a sweetness to it, and the flavour changes, and so you've got to really balancing act too. Oh, well, good, definitely a pretty solid first effort. We had no idea what we were up against.
No.
Especially you.
Yeah. A bit of a different approach doing the Muscat rather than using the must.
Yes.
But yeah.
But, so you happy? You happy with it?
Yeah, I've had a couple on the couch, like since we've made it, and I love it. Beautiful, nice, rich. Yeah. So I think it's come out quite well.
And how's the you've been selling it? How's the public received it?
Pretty well, I think. We didn't do a massive batch, so it wasn't like we didn't send it everywhere because we didn't have that much.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been pretty well received here at the venues, and then the people it's gone out to.
Cool.
Which is good, yeah. And now you finally got it down there in Adelaide.
Yeah. So I've got a few in the fridge, so I'll give it a little bit away already. So few mates who are big beer drinkers. I haven't heard the feedback yet, but they no news is good news, as I say.
Yeah. Well, it can't be that bad then if you haven't heard anything.
No. It's only the last recent few days, so they may not have got around to it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Is there anything else been happening, mate, in the wine world?
Oh, we've got Budburst down here. It's slowly happening because of the sort of warm days. There've been really freezing cold days for a few days, so Budburst has been dragged out a lot. So the little buds are coming out, and some of them will come out and then it'll cool off again and then sort of stagnate, and then it'll be a bit warm for another day or so. Then a few more shoot, and then I reckon Budburst took about over 2 weeks this year. Usually takes sort of 3 or 4 days, but because of the sporadic weather we've been having, it'll take a long time. So hopefully the weather will settle down and the rest of the season will be a bit more consistent.
Yeah.
But they said it's going to be a reasonably wet spring, so it is what it is. Grass is growing a lot, but the vines are just chipping away at it to get there. We'll get there. So back to a nice late season, we're back to a normal time frame. So we've had the last 10 years with the erratic weather we've been having. We've had mudbursts of mid-August, late August sometimes.
Yep.
But we're now back to a normal time frame, sort of late September or mid-late September. So hopefully everything else in the course of the growing season will be back to a normal time frame. So we'll pick probably March next year rather than late February, and things will just tick along slowly, and there'll be no rush to pick things. Hopefully we're going to get too hot or something.
Mate, for the punters, can you explain what a budburst is?
Budburst is vines are a plant that goes into dormancy through winter.
Yep.
And so it's not an evergreen as such. But when the soil and the vines, warm soil warms up a bit and the vines get stimulated, then the little buds or little those just expand and burst, and they start growing. So it's when the vine comes alive and get ready for the next growing season. Comes alive, yes. So and then afterwards, after the finishes, when we pick all the fruit, slowly the vines start shutting down, and then once it gets cold enough, then they obviously lose all their leaves and they go back to dormancy again.
Yep.
So and then if we prune, cut all the old shoots off, ready to the little spurs or new canes or whichever pruning method you use, and then obviously you wait for the next cycle to start. So
yeah, cool. So are you expecting a good season this year?
For all accounts, I think we are. We got into the third La Nina pattern in a row, so which means our summers are going to be cooler.
Yeah.
But this year they have said that we may get more rainfall than we've had the last 2 years. So that's the only I suppose, curveball we're going to get. If we continue to get rain this side of Christmas, it's fine, because the vines, they need, when they're growing, the canopy's developing, they need a good amount of moisture to get growing and look good, healthy. But hopefully through flowering, we don't get bad weather, and set, we don't get bad weather, so we get some nice crop levels. But once we hit the new year, when the fruit starts ripening and sugar starts accumulating, if we start getting too much rain there, then the fruit often splits, or we get a thing called a mold called botrytis, which can be very, very damaging to the yields, and let alone and the whole quality. Sometimes you just got to you can't pick anything because it's so prolific.
Yeah.
And we had that in 2011, which was a very wet season, even down here. And you could literally see the mold growing in front of your eyes. It was so damp, so warm, so humid.
Yeah.
And it was insane. So touch wood, we get, it's a good season. Cooler seasons are good because the sugar doesn't race the waste. So the ripening process is very slow and even. And typically flavour accumulates quickly or faster than the sugar. And so you get nice lower alcohols with good full flavour and good colours in the wine. So we've had that in 22 and 21. So we might get through in a row. Touch wood.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Awesome. All right, mate.
I'm going to finish this.
I think it's coming out all right. Beautiful. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.